Hello everyone, how y'all doing? So today we have good news. So, you know the Heroic Games launcher? Let me actually launch it for you guys. So this little launcher here, there's a new version, I'll check later. So this little launcher here, I mainly use it for three purposes. One of them is for syncing my Epic account. The other one is for syncing my GOG account. The third option, which would typically be to sync my Amazon account, because apparently they have Amazon games or whatever. I'm not going to do that because I genuinely don't care, but you can do it. You can go here, do an Amazon login. I don't have anything to log in here, so I don't really care. But I do also use Epic Games to like install backups of games. Like for example, I have a few Need for Speed games here. And honestly, I like the UI of Heroic Games Launcher that I don't mind also using this just to manually install certain backups of games that I have. But anyway, I believe some of the people that have worked on this launcher are now working on, it seems like a dedicated app to actually run the Microsoft Store, which I think is pretty cool because that's sort of been the one store that for a very long time you couldn't really run on Linux, and as a result, it didn't end up creating some friction within the handheld market because the way, for example, like when you have handhelds, like for example the ROG Ally, the Xbox ROG Ally, I don't know how they call it, but you know all of these other handhelds that have like Windows, like the Windows handhelds, usually they would market themselves with the fact that hey, unlike the Steam Deck, I mean, I don't know if they would specifically refer to the Steam Deck, but they would say, hey, you know, unlike the competition, we actually have Game Pass. If you like Game Pass, you can use this. And I've even seen some tweets from people saying, like, hey, I like the ROG Ally, the ROG Ally X, because unlike with the Steam Deck, I can actually use Game Pass. You know what I mean? But this app, from what I can tell here, if it achieves what we believe it will, this will no longer be an issue. Now, of course, there's going to be other issues. For example, I believe I read somewhere that like this seems to be aiming to like support relatively modern games, but there might be some like older ones that are still not entirely supported. One thing I do wonder though, and this is actually something that I thought about while I was sleeping, which is if this is going to sync with the Microsoft Store, I wonder if you can also install apps. I don't know if they specifically refer to this. I don't know if by Microsoft Store they're only referring to the gaming side of things, and if that's the case, that's fine. It's just something that I was curious because I believe the Microsoft Store is the only store where you can install some like really obscure Crunchyroll app that no one uses, but I used to use back when I used Windows. So I'm very curious to know if I can install that. I mean, I think I already tried to use that on Linux, but like it was broken at the time. But that was 2022. It's been a long time. Which, by the way, you shouldn't use that app anyway. It's kind of bad. But regardless, it does seem here that like because like you know there's already a GitHub page. It's not public yet, but based on internal testings, it does seem like they've already been able to do the Microsoft and Xbox authentication, game package downloads, and licenses. So things are moving. This is a legit thing. And honestly, I'm really happy because, you know, I don't really use the Microsoft Store at all. I don't think I even have any games there that I've bought. So I don't, oh, I mean, aside from Minecraft, but like I can already use Minecraft. Like there's this launcher I have here, this little Minecraft launcher here. So I can play Minecraft on Linux. I don't need Exodus, which I like the name, by the way. Sorry, we're unable to get your account information. Please restart your launcher. Fine, I'll try it later. But but anyway, I can already play Minecraft, so I don't need Exodus for that. But I don't know, maybe if at some point in the future I might find certain deals, like for example, if you go to sites, you know, one of those sites that sell like keys for multiple stores. If I like find a game that has like a better deal on the Microsoft Store, it's like okay, fine, I'll just go with that, I guess. That's kind of the goal, I guess. I still would prefer buying games on Steam, and I probably will continue to do that. But I guess the fact that there is an option is really cool. And in the current direction that Microsoft has right now, it does kind of seem like they're aiming to provide backwards compatibility for their older generations, like the Xbox 360 was one that they mentioned here. I don't know if they're gonna focus too much on Xbox One because I think they were already doing the whole all-in-one thing. So I mean, I'm sure they're probably already working on some kind of compatibility layer between the Xbox, both the One X as well as the Series X, and S. I'm sure they're already working on it. At least so far, I've only mainly heard of the Xbox 360, which, to be fair, that is actually the generation I'm the most interested in seeing Microsoft finding a way to like allow you to play them on PC. That's definitely the one I'm the most interested in. That as well as the OG Xbox, because a lot of Xbox One and especially Xbox Series games, a lot of them already are available on PC, so I'm not too worried about that. But the 360, goddamn, would it be really nice if you could actually play a lot of those classic ones on PC? It would actually be really cool. That's the one thing about Microsoft that I am rooting for, surprisingly, because I don't usually root for Microsoft. But yeah, I guess another thing about that's interesting. Just seeing here, question: when can I play my Minecraft Bedrock while access is quickly matured? There's still a lot of work to support it from one standpoint to provide necessary Xbox services to games. Just as an FYI, there is a way you can play Minecraft Bedrock on Linux. It's just that it requires you to sync your Google account because it uses, I don't know if it uses the specific build or the credentials for the Google Play Store version of Minecraft, which is Bedrock. But yeah, I just want to let you know, technically speaking, you can actually run Minecraft Bedrock on Linux. It's a bit more of a hassle, but you can definitely do it. But anyway, another thing I was also wondering, which is, in fact, it's not even really wondering, it's more of a prediction, which is the fact that I do believe that this app will become pretty integral at some point in the future. And one of the main reasons for why I feel this way is because there was one prophecy that Gabe Newell had back in 2012 in which he believed that Microsoft, when they launched the Microsoft Store, one of their main goals was to essentially bury Steam and make it so their environment was more catered towards playing games through the Microsoft Store rather than other game stores. That was something that Gabe Newell was very concerned, and that's one of the main reasons for why he started the whole Linux gaming propaganda, basically. And the thing is, I do feel like with Xbox Helix, this might end up becoming a reality very soon, because the whole point of Xbox Helix is that it's supposed to be a hybrid of console and PC. And I think that's cool, and that's definitely cool. I'm glad that Microsoft is hopefully going to focus a little bit more on PC gaming, because I feel like for the past couple of years they've kind of been a little bit neglectful. But regardless, the one downside to this is that if they are going to aim to be very aggressive, there's a couple of ways that I can actually envision Microsoft might end up, establishing some practices that kind of bury Steam. One of them is something that I've heard regarding like some incentives that they might give to developers. If, for example, the way it works is that if certain games have like some kind of certification for, it's like some kind of like Xbox Helix certification where, yes, it's a PC game, but it's certified to run on Xbox Helix. And I've heard that like Microsoft is like doing something where they might end up giving some like benefits or some kind of like incentive program to enable developers into doing that, basically encourage them to do so, as well as the fact that, assuming, for example, that a lot of the Xbox console player base moves to Xbox Helix, I do believe a lot of them will still want to use their Microsoft accounts, especially if they also can keep contributing to backwards compatibility as well as other compatibility layers for some of the more recent gens. It could end up creating a situation where a lot of people might end up migrating to the Microsoft Store, as well as the fact that a lot of developers might feel a bit more incentivized to maintain their builds on the Microsoft Store rather than the Steam Store. Because while yes, the PC gaming player base, they are primarily on Steam, and I do believe it's going to continue to be that way for years to come. At the same time, I will also say that if a developer, like, I don't think developers are just gonna suddenly stop, making their games available on Steam. I don't think that's gonna happen. But I do think that, it could create a world where they might feel less incentivized to do that. Because at the end of the day, you do have to maintain, like, yes, it's a PC game. It's technically the same game, but it's like you are publishing this on two different stores. So you do have to actively maintain it. You have to actively update it, and there can be some differences when it comes to the SDK as well as some of the APIs and the packaging system that exists within one store and another. And so some developers just might not really feel that incentivized to like maintain two different builds of this game when they have reason to believe that the player base can just stick to one. And I don't know, people are already using Windows. They are, many of them probably already have a Microsoft account. Some of them might have even have a history with Xbox, and so they might feel, you know what? Who cares? Microsoft, they're giving us a bit more benefits compared to Steam, and we believe a lot of the audience are already on the Microsoft store. So we're not really gonna focus as much on Steam. Again, I don't know if that's gonna happen overnight. Probably not. Steam is still a very big platform. I don't think we're gonna suddenly see a massive shift in the player base migrating from Steam to Microsoft. Nor do I think it's gonna get to a point where Steam is like unusable overnight. I don't think that's gonna happen. But it is a slight possibility that we should consider. I don't think it's out of character for Microsoft to do that. And I like to believe that if that were to happen, at least we still have a way for us Linux users to still play PC games, because we do primarily rely on Steam because Steam is the most friendly platform for Linux. But if it ever gets to the point where Steam starts to become less of the centralized sort of store for gaming, and like that starts to slowly become like Microsoft's thing, then it's good to know that there is a way to play their games on Linux. That's what I'm trying to say. And honestly, there's a lot of things that have been happening recently that kind of makes me feel less and less confident that Steam might be able to maintain the position that they're in right now. Obviously, one of them is the fact that the Steam machine is overpriced to no tomorrow. And I don't know, dude, like the Steam Deck is also extremely overpriced. Like, I don't know if the Xbox LIX is still, like, just out of curiosity, Xbox LIX. Let me see the current prices, just out of curiosity. Sure. Okay, so it is starting. I mean, actually, no, I think this was always $9.99. Although they are still selling this one, which is $5.99. It's definitely cheaper than, what was it? I think it was like $7.79, the cheapest version of the Steam Deck. Just out of curiosity. Steam Deck. Let's go here. And yep, it's still $7.79. That's still the cheapest version. Meanwhile, the cheapest version you can find of the Asus ROG Xbox Ally, it's still $5.99. Now, for obvious reasons, I will state that I don't think that this price is going to maintain this way forever. Obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if this was one of the last few stocks from like certain units that were obtained before the prices became what they are. Just want to make that clear. But I also do want to make it clear that that speaks more volume as far as like Microsoft's ability to actually put things out there in the market compared to Valve. Just want to let you know. It's like, listen, I've heard a lot of arguments from people trying to like defend Valve by saying, oh, Valve, they're not in the market of selling consoles. They don't have the same relationships that Microsoft and Sony has. And look, I know all that. Trust me, I get it. But the problem is they should. Like, I'm not saying they should have the same level, but like they should be better. Like, my point is, if they are going to sell hardware, they should be better. I'm not saying it's easy. Obviously, it's not, especially in the current market conditions. But what I am saying is that if your competitors are able to get significantly, I'm not just saying like marginally better prices, significantly better prices than you, I think that should be your wake-up call. I think you should do better. That's all I'm trying to say. But anyway, and then there's the Steam machine, which is this is just insane, dude. Like this price here is just insane. This is an insane price, almost double the price of a PS5 while also being weaker than the PS5. This doesn't make any sense. This price here is absolutely insane. I'm pretty sure you can buy a PS5 and a Switch 2 combined with this money. So that's currently the situation that we're in, is that Valve is not exactly selling hardware that's very compelling. Meanwhile, I don't think Microsoft is going to be in the same situation. Again, I'm not saying they're going to sell like super cheap, like pre-2025 prices, obviously their stuff is also going to be expensive. I certainly think that the Xbox Helix is going to be pretty expensive. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if this was more than 1,000. In fact, I know it's going to be more than 1,000. But even if it was, like, for example, 1,200, it's like, dude, 1,200, I still think it's a much better deal than the Steam Machine, because, dude, like, Xbox Series is, like, what, gonna be based on RDNA 5 and Zen 6? It's like, come on, dude, that thing's gonna be a powerhouse. It's definitely gonna be much more powerful than the Steam Machine. So, like, yeah, if that thing costs, like, 1,300, honestly, for what I'm getting, it makes sense. It certainly makes much more sense than this. And there's also the existing player base that, hey, might see what Microsoft is doing with the PC side of things, and hey, they might think, maybe Microsoft is cooking something. And I don't know, Valve should be a little bit concerned. Again, like I said, I'm not saying they're gonna lose market share overnight. I don't think that's not something that happens immediately on the fly. But you always gotta be ready for all of the possibilities. That's all I'm saying. But anyway, that's my rambling. Linux gaming forever.